Welcome viewers and dear students. I Divya Ojha welcome you all for today's session, which is on Unit 3 and 4 of Course 3, Introduction to Indian Fashion Industry. Today we have with us Professor Gaba from School of Vocational Education and Training. We will discuss on the growth of global fashion industry and growth of Indian fashion industry.
सभी विद्यार्थियों को मैं हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं इस प्रोग्राम में और आशा करता हूं कि जो पीछे हमने प्रोग्राम किए हैं इस प्रोग्राम से रिलेटेड सर्टिफिकेट इन फैशन डिजाइन, आप लोगों ने उसको अच्छी तरह से व्यू किया है और हमारे पास जो फीडबैक आया है उससे ये हमें मालूम हुआ है कि कोर्स 3 और ब्लॉक 1 और यूनिट 3 एंड 4 that is growth of global fashion industry और growth of Indian fashion industry. So ये growth of जो हम बात कर रहे हैं global fashion industry, इसके क्या क्या मापदंड हैं और ये प्रोग्राम जो फैशन इंडस्ट्री की बात कर रहे हैं वर्ल्ड में क्या क्या इसका ट्रेंड ग्रोथ रेट का रहा है और पर कैपिटा कंजम्पशन क्या हुआ है, इसकी एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी प्रोस्पेक्ट क्या है, इन बातों पे चर्चा करेंगे. बेसिकली इस यूनिट का जो ऑब्जेक्टिव है वो बात करता है टू एक्सप्लोर अबाउट द ग्लोबल फैशन इंडस्ट्री. सोचिए आप +2 करने के बाद इस प्रोग्राम को स्टडी करने के लिए आए हैं. आपके जो दिमाग में काफी क्वेश्चंस होंगे कि ये प्रोग्राम हम क्यों करें, इससे हमें क्या क्या फायदे हो सकते हैं और इसको ना करने से क्या नुकसान हो सकता है. कई क्वेश्चंस आपके माइंड में होंगे, लेकिन इस जो यूनिट को पढ़ने के बाद आपको जो आपके मन में काफी विचार क्वेश्चन चल रहे हैं, आशा करते हैं वो पूरे आंसर देने की कोशिश करेंगे. दूसरा जो बात कर रहे हैं ऑब्जेक्टिव टू नो द ट्रेंड ऑफ ग्लोबल फैशन इंडस्ट्री, कि इंडिया के अलावा संसार में कहां कहां किस कंट्री में इस फैशन इंडस्ट्री का ग्रोथ हो रहा है और किस दिशा में जा रहा है. तीसरा एस्पेक्ट हम बात कर रहे हैं टू डिस्कस एम्प्लॉयमेंट एस्पेक्ट्स, जो एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज है वो इस फैशन इंडस्ट्री में किस किस एरिया में है. इन 3 विषयों पर चर्चा करने के बाद जब हम आए, सबसे पहले हम बात करेंगे व्हाट इज फैशन इंडस्ट्री. फैशन इंडस्ट्री जो बात करती है वो 3 चीजों के बारे में बात करती है. फर्स्ट है प्रोडक्शन. एज लाइक अदर इंडस्ट्रीज इन दिस कंट्री और एनी वर्ल्ड, यू विल फाइंड द 3 एस्पेक्ट्स आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, दैट इज प्रोडक्शन, कंज्यूमर एंड मार्केटिंग. ये 3 प्रिंसिपल ऑफ जो इंडस्ट्री के मापदंड हैं इन 3 चीजों पर निर्भर करते हैं. तो सबसे पहले प्रोडक्शन. सो फैशन इंडस्ट्री में जो प्रोडक्शन है वो कैसे होता है. एज लाइक अदर इंडस्ट्री, इसमें भी 2 एस्पेक्ट की जरूरत होती है, लेबर, कैपिटल एंड इन्वेस्टमेंट. सो जब लेबर इन्वेस्टमेंट की जाती है तो इंडस्ट्री का जो मेजरमेंट है वो इसके ऊपर मापदंड पूरा करता है, इससे प्रोडक्शन होता है. ये आपने कहीं अपने 10+2 अपने कोर्स में या इकोनॉमिक्स के स्टूडेंट हैं या कहीं आपने जनरल प्रोडक्शन पढ़ा होता है. इसका मीनिंग है कैपिटल, प्रोडक्शन और इन्वेस्टमेंट. इन तीनों को मिला के जब हम फैशन इंडस्ट्री की बात करते हैं इसमें 2 रोल जो है, लेबर का रोल जो है वो बहुत बढ़ जाता है. सेकंड है कंज्यूमर. जब हम कंज्यूमर की बात करें, ट्रेंड ऑफ फैशन, ये जो फैशन इंडस्ट्री है ये कंज्यूमर के टेस्ट और कंज्यूमर के चॉइस के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है. ऑल ऑफ सडन डेली यदि आप मीडिया में देखते हैं या किसी और विजुअल में देखते हैं तो आपका मन भी करता है उसी टाइप के वस्त्र ग्रहण करने का या कोई और शूज डालने का. तो फैशन इज नॉट ओनली फुटवियर और क्लॉथ्स और एनी shoes we are talking about here we are talking about a macro level perspective of fashion industry, that is trend of fashion and consumption. Now we will also discuss कि per capita consumption जो है वो इसके फैशन इंडस्ट्री में किस रेट से हो रहा है. लास्ट बात करेंगे हम मार्केटिंग, जिसकी हम बात करते हैं मार्केटिंग ब्रांड की. सो आजकल जब हम फैशन इंडस्ट्री की बात कर रहे हैं सो फैशन को कन्वर्ट किया गया ब्रांड में और मार्केटिंग बन गई, इसको हम बोलते हैं बाइंग परचेजिंग पावर ऑफ द कंज्यूमर आल्सो. इन 3 एस्पेक्ट्स को मिला के कॉन्सेप्ट बनता है फैशन इंडस्ट्री. अब फैशन इंडस्ट्री की जो हम बात कर रहे हैं इसके बाद में जो पहले क्या होता था, इंडस्ट्री तो अभी हाई 19th सेंचुरी में जब लोग थे पहले तो वो क्या करते, तो हैंडमेड प्रोडक्शन जो था वो क्लॉथिंग और कस्टमर मेड जो हैंडमेड थे उन्हीं को ही वस्त्र को पहनते थे. आप हिस्ट्री उठा के देखिए कि जो मिडवेल इंडिया की बात करिए और यूरोपियन की बात करिए और लैटिन अमेरिका में, सो तब तक फैशन में ज्यादा इसकी इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं थी, लेकिन फैशन तब भी था. नोटिस नहीं हुआ, स्टडी नहीं हुई, कहीं रिपोर्टिंग नहीं हुई, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कह सकते कि फैशन नहीं था, इसके एस्पेक्ट्स दिए गए हैं। और सेकंड पॉइंट जो है 19वीं सेंचुरी में देखिए हैंडमेड पर ज्यादा कोई मशीन्स या टेक्नोलॉजी आज की डेट में जैसे हम ग्रोथ कर रहे हैं, उस टाइम ऐसी मशीनरी या लेटेस्ट कंप्यूटर, इंटरनेट फैसिलिटी नहीं हुआ करती थी, लेकिन फैशन हुआ करता था, वो हैंडमेड के ऊपर ज्यादा जोर किया जाता। आज भी डेवलपिंग कंट्री में हैंडमेड प्रोडक्शन, फैशन डिजाइन के ऊपर ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस दी गई है। इन दो एस्पेक्ट्स के बाद जब फैशन को, हिस्ट्री को देखते हैं हम, बिगिनिंग ऑफ द 20th सेंचुरी के ऊपर ये थोड़ा चेंज हुआ। वो चेंज किस हद से हुआ कि न्यू टेक्नोलॉजी आ गई और उसके ऊपर क्या हुआ कि मशीन, स्विंग मशीन्स आ गई। इससे जो फैशन इंडस्ट्री का प्रोडक्शन के ऊपर काफी इम्पैक्ट हुआ। उससे नए नए डिजाइन, कॉन्सेप्ट और इनोवेशन होने लगे और वो जो फैशन डिजाइन मार्केट में एक ब्रांड के रूप में वो उभर के सामने आया। उसका ग्रोथ रेट एक ह्यूज रेट से मार्केट में, ना कोई यूरोपियन कंट्री बल्कि डेवलपिंग कंट्री के अंदर भी, वो जैसे कि इंडिया और चाइना की हम बात करेंगे आगे, उसमें भी काफी इसका विकास हुआ। सो द राइज ऑफ ग्लोबल कैपिटलिज्म, इकोनॉमी बढ़ी, लोगों के पास पैसा आया और पर कैपिटा इनकम इंक्रीज हुई। सो पीपल वांट मोर ब्रांड्स एंड मोर फैशन प्रोडक्ट्स। सो इससे भी फैशन इंडस्ट्री के ऊपर काफी इम्पैक्ट हुआ। So the last point, when we see the beginning of the 20th century and as in today, we see last couple of years, last 10 years, the growth of the fashion industry is rising tremendously and very high rates. And the development of the factory system of a production, clothing, and come to the later production stage where students and learners, or not only learners, if you see in the colleges, in the formal system, they give preference to the brand shirts and pants and jeans. And not only for that, if you see the kids, parents are purchasing brand products for their kids. So 3 stages we are talking about the fashion. As you know, in the previous blocks or units, you might have studied fashion design and concept and principle of the fashion design, these 3 aspects for whom we are talking about the fashion industry. Fashion industry, who are these 3 consumer characteristics in this industry? These are kids, women and men. So 3 category wise customer productions and fashion productions are being produced in different part of the world. Now the point is trend of retailing after this 20th century. The retailing grew in this fashion industry. In the block 3 or course block 2, we discuss about the detail about this retail. In this block also we will discussing the point 2 or block 2, the retailing of fashion designing. The retail sector increased retail last 5-6 years, not only developing country but you see Europe. And the retail sector huge, millions of dollars amount spent on this, and the retail industry expanded across the globe. The point is here, these retail sectors, is it helping the growth of the fashion industry across the country or particular context of the country? Our statistical analysis, when we did, we found the growth of global fashion industry is talking about the products and finished clothing. We are not talking about the textile. We are discussing here the growth of clothes and apparel. As my colleague talking about the discussion of certificate in fashion design program block 3, introduction to fashion industry. Here we are giving the focus of discussion is introduction to apparel industry, not on textile industry. To be clear, students, where you are doing these programs, don't confuse between the textile industry and apparel industry. We are discussing apparel industry and that the impact on ready-made garments and fashions. Second point, rising demand of manufacturing apparel products in the world. If you see the statistical available reports and various reports reported by the World Textile Organization, World Trade Organizations, last 10 years, it was a huge growth of this apparel industry in all over the world, particularly developed country and including emerging economy of the world like BRICS nations. If you see the growth rate of these countries in apparel productions, it was huge, including China and India. Now, opportunity for expand the business in different ways. As I will discuss with this detail, because she will explain, my colleague Divya here, the short product life cycle. Can you tell me, Divya, what is short product life cycle?
As fashion industry is the fastest growing industry,
Yeah.
so we can say कि short product life cycle is the fashion. If we adopt any fashion, अगर कोई fashion market में आता है तो बहुत ज़्यादा समय के लिए नहीं रहता है, उसकी रोटेशन हमेशा चलती रहती है। तो बिजनेस जो फैशन वर्ल्ड में है उनको इतनी स्कोप मिलते हैं कि वो नए अपॉर्चुनिटीज को, नए फैशन को वो अडॉप्ट करेंगे और उसके अकॉर्डिंग वो अपने मार्केटिंग करेंगे.
Very good. This point, I think, Lana, you understand the short-term impact, this cycling, and how it impacts long-term growth rate of the fashion industry. We can't plan the next 5-year productions on fashion designs. Therefore, we need to change the designing of the fashions as per the need of the consumer in the market. It may be short-term or it may be long-term. But in long-term impact is not there if you see the economic impact of industry. Secondly, this concept explain the opportunities of fashion, that is volatile fashions. What is volatile fashion?
Like as short product life cycle, volatile is like we have something new at every time. Like कोई एक फैशन आता है वो 6 month रहता है, फिर 6 month के बाद कोई नया फैशन आता है, तो उसको हम बोल सकते हैं कि नए volatile fashions आते हैं जो कंटिन्यूअसली चेंज होते हैं, तो हमें मार्केट फैशन इंडस्ट्री को इतने स्कोप मिलते हैं कि वो ग्रोथ कर सके.
So it means the two concepts that you just explained here, it impact unpredictable impact on what trade on fashion designs. It is not sure the next 5 years we will be having the same product and same designs. It may change every hours or every days, or it may be demand in India but not in Africa or any European part. If there is demand in European part, so it will not be case of in India. So thank you for this particular concept which you explained. I am sure that my students who are viewing this program might have understood the basic two concepts which may be asked in your assignment as well. But the point which last we are discussing, a purchase nature of the customer, it all depends upon the when the customer income increase. And I'm not talking about the developing country or developed country. Any customer, any country, any part of the world belongs, if his income change or increase drastically, and definitely they will demand for more branded products and more fashionable products, which we think we have tried to explain in the content as well. So I think we will discuss the basic concept of the fashion design and growth of fashion industry, that is the industry as a business, footwear and accessories. So this demand of the footwear, can you tell me, Divya, what are the footwear accessories in fashion designs?
As fashion designing, all like fashion includes from apparel to accessories to footwear. So if we are having any clothes, so having a footwear according to that is important. So as the apparel industry is increasing, so the footwear industry and the accessory sector is also comparatively increasing, because we have to pair all these accordingly.
So definitely it is called natural textile when we go, and then it will convert it into apparel industries, and apparel industry becomes in fashion industry, and then you are giving this input of raw materials and the final product is coming. Thank you. And learners, we will be discussing here the trend, and trend is the global fashion industries and retail sectors, and the growth of the retail sector industry is interlinked when we see the demand of the this particular product and the fashionable product in the market. So marketing and promotion is a huge challenge, and particularly if you see the inflation trend and the industry's growth rates, and they are giving more importance to this promotion and marketing aspect rather than retailing and branding. If you see the shirts earlier we were wearing, we were not asking any go in raw material from textile and going for tailor, whomsoever maybe not having the sewing machine technological what we have today. Earlier they were preparing these pant shirts and or any women's wear or kids wear. But as in today, the latest technology and designs available and innovations in this particular sectors, particularly in Europe, I have seen my literature reports are saying, the World Trade Organization report also mentioning this, the taste of the customer and the technology impact the customer demand of the fashionable product in the market. These aspects we have taken, and that's why the business growth in the all part of the world, where these fashion products or fashionable market growth industry is not only in India, China, or particularly developing country. I have seen the Kenya and Nigerian also giving more preference to fashion products, where the growth rate of economy is less than what in India, China we have. So we come out the next the trend of global fashion industries, and that shows you see the screens. We talked about the consumer spending on fashion is about US $1.5 in 2015. If we see the figures as in today, it has increased since last 4 years much more than what we were having in last 6 or 10 years back. Now the industry is undergoing drastical changing because of due to global sourcing of high labor technology, and earlier this fashion industry was as in today also most of the developing countries like India is basically based on labor intensive technique rather than capital or technology intensive techniques. These techniques were used in fashion industry, and the labor intensive industries basically in India and China we are referring here is having the more opportunities for employability aspects and in retail aspects rather than the production perspective, because the demand for the domestic market also impacts in fashion industry. We are not talking about the whatever productions we are doing in fashion design production in India or in China or other European country. The demand for their product, if we see the customer I am going in the market, so I buy preferably those products which is imported from the other part of the world. Okay, this is American shirts or Indian shirts, we definitely give preference to other countries' products. This customer taste is also very important. Customer choice is very important of the growth of this fashion industry across the country. Now, if we see the particular growth rate is concerned, global textile, and last 2000 onwards, this particularly US $1 billion increase in particular textile and apparel we are talking about here. If you see the screen, in apparel productions particular which is related to our fashion design industry, there is much more increase than the textile. If you see the green color of this graph is showing the particular apparel industry in comparison to red color, brown, orange color, which is talking about the textile. So apparel industry last 2009 onwards, if you see the graph, which is giving huge $650 billion expanded, and its data shows very interesting facts of the global fashion industry. And when we talk about the countrywide analysis, a report we have taken from the already reported by the Dr. Sing-Shu Lu in 2012, he talked about China and USA and India, the three emerging world countries in the fashion industry. And if you see the other part of the country, the slides is not showing the countries' names. I understand the name of the font size is less, but if you see the first three big graphs, it is showing China or USA and India. And not only this graph, if you see the per capita expenditure on apparel or fashion design products, again India is less in compared to Australia, where more than $1,000 being spent by the consumer on fashion products, and in India we have only $3.7. And we have also see China and Brazil. Or if you see the average of the global per capita expenditure on fashion products, that is $163 in comparison to India and China, which is less than. So Indian market and China market emerging economy, and we hope next 5 years, if you see the predictions and data, statistics what are reporting here, India will be spending more per capita expenditure on fashion design products rather than the domestic customer products. Now, these major expenses in global textile exports is concerned, 40% is mostly by China. If you see the share of the global fashion product share across the country, and we find China is 40% and then Italy 34%. India again less is the 5%. So India is much lagging behind the domestic consumption and export is concerned. But if we see the latest trend, we show the Asian countries contribute about 50% in the total global apparel export. This is very interesting. Asia and other part of the world, the country are 50-50. And then fashion industry is more labor intensive, so the country with the advent of labor power has a promising future for its future growth, of course. Now let us briefly discuss about the Indian scenario, and we come out this particular course 3 and block 1. We are talking about the growth of Indian fashion industry, and we will discuss where India stands across the globe. Now we discuss the objective of this session of the globe, this particular Indian fashion industry, and we will tell about the Indian fashion industry status as in today as compared to the world other countries, and we found to explain the growth of Indian apparel industry and employment opportunities. The most important part is the before liberalization 1991 Indian economy, you see divided into three parts. If you see after independence 1947, and then liberalization policy during 1991, where Indian economic growth boosts across the countries, and then we talked about the non-liberalization policy. So 16 and 17, the Indian growth rates are very poor in fashion industry. You see the screen here. The value of the export in US dollar in 1962 it was 1.8 million US dollar, and it increased in 91 2 to 36 million US dollar. we were not lacking behind the other part of this world, but the share was less if you see the other European country. Now, we come out the apparel industry post-liberalization era. We found the Indian textile and clothing industry witnessed a phenomenal growth since industrial policy 1991. The foreign trade has played a crucial role in Indian economy, and fashion was also contributing significantly so far industries export growth is concerned. The composition and directions of the foreign trade has undergone substantial changes, particularly after the liberalizations process which began in the early 90s. So the pre-liberalization policies and before 90s, we see how the growth of Indian economy as well as the contribution of the fashion industry was evolving since last 30 years. Now come out since 90s, India's share in world export almost doubled by 97, and India emerging as one of the top 10 global exporters textile and clothing. So it was a very interesting reporting by the scholars which are telling, see where we were in 1961 and then liberalization policy, how much helped us to grow in the fashion industry after 90s, and at present its growth rate is huge and India's market is expanding since last couple of years. After liberalization, the government further de-licensed this industry and initiated progressive deregulation of this sector. So this growth rate is also giving the pictures if you see the screens here, and India is having the 46 in 2013 US billion dollar size of this world fashion industry is concerned, and it increased. If you see the last column of average compound growth rates, India was almost with China. So India and China economy and the fashion industry was also expanding last couple of years, and both are in the race. Who is the larger size of fashion industry? The two largest world emerging economy, India and China. Now, if you see the European economy and a European sector industrial, particularly fashion design, where Italy and France was major contributor, now India and China is there. Now, where we go from this? We find the next 5 years where we will go. And 2025, India will be having the $138 billion size of the productive change per capita spent on apparel sector, US dollar, where we were less in $3.7 in the previous slide, and you see the present slide which we projected as reported by the different scholars and different institutions across the globe, and where India is shining as from $40 billion to $130 million. So average per capita consumption of fashion product, India is increasing, and as compared to China as well as other part of this country. So it's a very interesting facts and figures we have both from the Indian perspective and global perspective. So all the students are requested to send this your queries, and if you have already gone through this study material, then mail us where you have a problems and compile the information on Indian fashion industry at the particular context and your regional where you are doing this program contributions for retail outlet. So you have to do this activity while after these programs and mail us. As you know, my mail is with all of you for akgava@ignou.ac.in. So this email, when I will view your these case studies of Indian and growth and your global industries comparison, and you see my first questions will be where India stands in comparison to other part of the world coming 5 years. Now, it is not the only case. If the economy is expanding and this growth rate of fashion industry is expanding, so what is the employment perspective? Employment perspectives, we will talk about it two aspects. First, what is the growth rate, and then what is the impact. Impact shows causing work more accessible, and impact will be more fashion products demand, more retail outlet will be opened. We will also see the growing internet explosion, e-marketing, what we are talking about, the online shopping and online web page. Already these products are being sold out through various sources, not only retail sectors. So industry shifted from traditional to online, and then come out these particular aspects of industry as concern is concerned. Now employment perspective is there, employment and involvement. In fashion industry, you see wholesaler for approval and clothing 13%, and people already working in this. Within fashion industry, three aspects are there. Now, my friends, you might have enjoyed this particular session, and we discuss the employment opportunities. There is huge demand across the globe where people are working more than 40,000 on an average US dollar as a fashion designer or assistant fashion designer after doing this course of fashion design. And secondly, you will see a lot of demand is there, particularly skill manpower, and skill gaps is also there. We will not discuss detail about these aspects. You can see further details of written material which we have dispatched to you. You have to see these two aspects, and first is growth of the global fashion industry, and second aspect is how India stands in comparison to other part of this country.
Hope you have understand the topic. It was brief, but I hope it is some points, some doubts have been clear. If you have any queries, you can write us mail and we can revert on that and we can solve all your queries back.